The Jasmine Crockett story. Welcome to Fame Finder, where we bring you stories that will change the way you see the world. Before we dive into this powerful tale of prejudice, resilience, and redemption, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Your support helps us continue sharing these transformative stories. An unexpected entrance. The luxury car showroom at Boston Luxury Motors glimmered with an almost ethereal glow. Each meticulously polished vehicle reflected the soft overhead lighting, creating an atmosphere of exclusivity and opulence. The crown jewel of the collection, a Rolls-Royce Phantom, stood majestically at the center, its price tag soaring well into the millions. Into this world of wealth and prestige walked Jasmine Crockett. She entered the dealership dressed simply, a white t-shirt, faded jeans, and worn sneakers. Her brown hair was pulled back into a practical ponytail. Nothing about her appearance suggested that she belonged in this temple of luxury, where status was measured in designer labels and platinum credit cards. But Jasmine wasn't there for herself. She was there for Caroline, her sister who had just won a grueling battle against cancer. Throughout the endless hospital visits, the painful chemotherapy sessions, and the nights filled with tears and uncertainty, Caroline had clung to one dream, to one day own a luxury car like the ones in this showroom. After everything they had been through, Jasmine was determined to make that dream come true. As she stepped into the showroom, the warm ambience seemed to grow cold. Conversations quieted, and heads turned in her direction. The wealthy clientele, adorned in tailored suits and designer accessories, exchanged glances of disapproval. Their stares lingered on her simple attire, their judgment palpable in the suddenly tense atmosphere. Jasmine felt it immediately, the invisible barrier that separated her from everyone else in the room. It was a familiar feeling, one she had encountered many times before, but it never ceased to sting the dismissal. Blake Thompson, the sales manager, stood near the front desk greeting other customers with practiced charm. Tall and imposing in his perfectly tailored suit, he epitomized success and authority. His hair was immaculately styled, his shoes polished to a mirror shine. He was a gatekeeper of this exclusive world, determining who deserved his attention and who did not. When his eyes fell on Jasmine, there was no warmth, no acknowledgement, just a swift, dismissive glance that took in her appearance and immediately categorized her as unworthy of his time. Without a second thought, Blake turned away, returning to his paperwork and effectively erasing her presence from his awareness. Undeterred, Jasmine walked toward a sleek blue coupe that had caught her eye. Her sneakers clicked softly against the glossy floor, the sound somehow too loud, too ordinary for the refined environment. She ran her fingers lightly over the car's sleek exterior, imagining the joy it would bring to Caroline's face. Blake, noticing Jasmine's interest in one of the most expensive cars in the showroom, felt uncomfortable. In his mind, she clearly didn't belong there. He exchanged a meaningful glance with one of his junior associates, subtly gesturing toward Jasmine. Daniel, a younger sales associate with a more gentle demeanor, approached her. "Excuse me," he said, his tone warm and professional. "Can I help you with something? Perhaps you'd like to take a closer look at the features of this car." Before Jasmine could respond, Blake intervened, his voice cutting through the air with calculated coldness. "Thanks, Daniel. I've got it from here." He glanced at Jasmine, his eyes sweeping over her in a way that made his judgment clear. His smile was venomous, designed not to welcome but to establish dominance. "You sure you're in the right place?" he asked, voice dripping with condescension. "This is a very expensive car. Perhaps you'd like to look at something more, within your range." The humiliation. The words hit Jasmine like a physical blow. She stood frozen, the weight of his judgment sinking in. He hadn't explicitly mentioned her race, but she could feel it underlying his assumption that someone like her, a black woman in casual clothes, couldn't possibly afford such luxury. Jasmine didn't react outwardly. She didn't let him see how deeply his words had cut. Instead, she turned her gaze back to the blue coupe, refusing to be intimidated. This wasn't about her pride. It was about fulfilling Caroline's dream, and she wouldn't let anyone's prejudice stand in the way. "If you'd like," Blake continued with false generosity, "I can show you some of our used cars. They might be more to your taste." Around them, the other customers watched the interaction with barely concealed interest. A blonde woman in a form-fitting black dress smiled mockingly as she observed the scene. Another woman whispered to her companion, I bet she couldn't afford that car, loud enough for everyone to hear. The room seemed to freeze, and Jasmine felt every pair of eyes on her, some filled with pity, others with judgment. Not a single person spoke up in her defense. Not one voice challenged the cruelty echoing through the silence. Jasmine pressed her lips together, determined not to show how deeply their words had wounded her. But the sting was undeniable. A well-dressed middle-aged man approached, stopping just short of her as if unwilling to get too close. He nudged a woman beside him and, loud enough for others to hear, said, "She looks like she couldn't possibly afford to own something like this, don't you think?" The words rang out, cutting through the air with such force that the entire showroom heard the cruel judgment. Jasmine's face flushed, her heart pounding in her chest. The humiliation was almost unbearable. "You won't be able to afford this one," Blake added from behind her, his voice oozing superiority. "We get people like you here all the time, but not everyone can actually pay for these cars." The quiet dignity. Despite the crushing weight of their judgment, something inside Jasmine began to shift. The suffocating pain transformed into a quiet resolve. She wasn't there for their approval. She didn't need their validation. She was there for Caroline, for the woman who had fought through cancer, for the dream Jasmine was determined to make reality. Daniel, the young sales associate, watched uncomfortably from a distance. He wanted to intervene but found himself paralyzed by the dynamics playing out before him. "My worth is not in the clothes I wear," Jasmine finally said, her voice soft but firm enough for those nearby to hear. It was a declaration of who she was, a reminder to herself and to them that she didn't need to prove her value through appearances or material possessions. With those final words hanging in the air, Jasmine walked away, stepping out of the showroom with her head held high. She wasn't running from the discrimination. She was choosing not to let it define her moment. She left that place with a quiet dignity that none of her tormentors could understand. The unexpected arrival. What no one could have predicted was that Jasmine's silent departure would trigger a dramatic shift in the atmosphere she had just left behind. The dealership, still buzzing with whispers about the woman who didn't belong, was about to witness the arrival of someone who would change everything. A sleek Rolls-Royce Phantom glided to a stop in front of the dealership. The wheels turned slowly, as if time itself needed to pause to welcome this arrival. It wasn't just an expensive car. It was a statement of power that few in this world could ever hope to make. As the car door opened, a tall man in a sharp black suit stepped out. His salt-and-pepper hair was neatly combed, and his eyes radiated decisive authority. This was Jasmine Crockett, a powerful figure in the tech world, a billionaire known for revolutionary inventions that had changed the course of technology. But what truly stunned everyone was his connection to the woman they had just humiliated. Jason was Jasmine's brother. The eyes of the entire dealership shifted from the blue coupe to the imposing figure making his way inside. Blake Thompson stood frozen, recognition dawning on his face as he realized who had just entered his showroom. The customers who had been so quick to judge Jasmine now fell into stunned silence. Blake, realizing the magnitude of his mistake, moved toward Jason, his face flushed with embarrassment. The atmosphere in the dealership had transformed completely. The once cold sales associate became immediately deferential, bowing their heads, eager to please. The customers who had been whispering just moments ago were now silent, shocked by the truth unfolding before them. Jason's steps echoed through the showroom as he approached Blake. His eyes locked onto the sales managers, and the weight of his gaze felt like an unspoken challenge. When he spoke, his voice filled the space with quiet authority. "Jasmine is not just my younger sister," Jason said, his words resonating through the hushed showroom. "She is a founder of the Collins Foundation, one of the largest charitable organizations dedicated to supporting disabled children. Her work has changed the lives of thousands, providing them with a future they might not have had otherwise. She does this work without seeking recognition or the spotlight." A profound silence fell over the dealership. Blake stood speechless, the words hitting him with unexpected force. The other sales associates and customers who had looked down on Jasmine now averted their eyes in shame. "Jasmine isn't just a woman who could buy this car in an instant," Jason continued. "She could buy this entire dealership if she wanted to. But she doesn't, because she doesn't need material things to prove her worth. Jasmine's value is in the way she improves the world around her. Her worth lies in her actions, in the lives she's touched, in the legacy she's building, not in the things she owns." The return and revelation. But the story takes an unexpected turn when Jasmine returns, having forgotten her phone on the counter. She walks back into a transformed atmosphere, all eyes on her, but now filled with a different kind of recognition. "I don't need your protection, Jason," Jasmine says softly, approaching her brother. "Thank you for standing up for me, but this isn't about revenge or creating conflict. What I want is for them to realize that a person's worth isn't in their appearance or in what they own, but in what they do and how they treat others." Her words surprised not only Jason but Blake and everyone else in the showroom. They hadn't expected this woman, whom they had so recently deemed unworthy, to respond with such grace and wisdom. Jasmine doesn't need an apology from those who hurt her. What she wants is understanding, for them to recognize that discrimination has no place in this world, and that respect must be built through empathy and mutual understanding. The transformation. In the days that follow, Blake Thompson finds himself unable to escape the overwhelming guilt. The images of Jasmine, her dignity intact despite his cruelty, haunt him. He knows he can never erase the hurt he caused, but he also knows that if he doesn't act, the regret will torment him forever. After hours of soul-searching, Blake decides to contact Jasmine and ask to meet with her. He knows that forgiveness might not come easily, but he can't live with the weight of his actions without trying to make amends. When they finally meet, Blake doesn't offer empty words. He comes with genuine remorse and a commitment to change. "Jasmine, I know that just saying I'm sorry won't undo what I did," Blake begins, his voice shaky but sincere. "I can't take back the things I said, and I can't erase the hurt I caused you. But I'm truly sorry from the bottom of my heart. I can't keep living with this guilt. I need to make things right, and I want to do something that actually matters." Jasmine listens quietly, her expression unreadable. She can feel the sincerity in Blake's words and knows this isn't just a hollow apology. It's the first step towards something deeper. "I want to be a part of the work your foundation does," Blake continues, his eyes filled with resolve. "I want to help the children you've been helping. I want to contribute in some way, not just to atone for my mistakes, but because I've learned that what you do, what you've built, is something that truly matters." After a long moment of silence, Jasmine finally speaks. "Forgiveness isn't easy. It's not something I give lightly," she says, her voice calm but firm. "But I believe that people can change as long as they truly want to. You've shown me that you're willing to try, and that's something." Jasmine's forgiveness isn't a free pass. It's a challenge for Blake to prove himself, to show her and everyone else that he can be better. "I don't expect you to forget what happened," Jasmine continues, her gaze steady. "But I do expect you to prove that you've learned something from it. Not just for me, but for yourself and for the people you will help along the way." The new beginning. In the months that follow, Blake throws himself into volunteering at the Collins Foundation. He works with the children, helps with fundraising events, and participates in donation drives. But more than that, he finds a sense of fulfillment he never knew existed. His transformation doesn't stop at volunteer work. Blake begins to change the culture at Boston Luxury Motors. He organizes training sessions on inclusion and bias awareness, encouraging his colleagues to look beyond appearances and treat every customer with the same respect and dignity. "We're not just selling cars," Blake tells his staff during a meeting. "We're selling respect, selling fairness. If we don't treat every customer the same, then we're undermining the very values this dealership was built on." Blake's commitment to change ripples through the dealership. There's a noticeable shift in attitudes, a new culture rooted in respect, equity, and genuine care for all customers, regardless of how they look or what they wear. The culmination. 1 year later, the Grand Hall of the Boston Hotel is beautifully decorated for the Collins Foundation's largest charity event to date. Jasmine stands at the center, welcoming guests and overseeing the fundraising that will provide opportunities for disabled children. Blake is there too, not just as a guest but as a dedicated volunteer and supporter. As he watches the children laugh and play, receiving gifts and assistance, he feels an overwhelming sense of joy and purpose. Jasmine observes Blake from across the room, a gentle smile on her face. She realizes that Blake hasn't changed just because of a confrontation. He's changed because he found something more meaningful than status or appearances. His transformation hasn't just benefited him. It's spread to his colleagues, his customers, and the countless children who now receive support from the dealership's new community initiatives. "Thank you for everything you've done, Blake," Jasmine says when they have a private moment to talk. Her words acknowledge not just his volunteer work, but the genuine change he has undergone. You've done something that very few people can. You found yourself again. Blake smiles, feeling pride both from Jasmine's recognition and from within himself. The burden of his past actions has been lifted, replaced by a sense of purpose and meaning he never knew was possible. The lesson: the story of Blake and Jasmine doesn't end with a conventional happy ending. It concludes with a profound lesson about human worth. Their journey shows that a person's value cannot be measured by appearances or material possessions, but by actions and how we treat one another. Blake's transformation from prejudice to redemption demonstrates that true change begins within each of us through learning, growing, and correcting our mistakes. Jasmine's resilience proves that self-confidence and dignity can never be taken away, even in the face of discrimination. For Blake, the journey continues. His new goal isn't to prove himself to the world, but to live a meaningful life where he helps others and contributes to building a more just society. The values of respect and fairness have become his guiding principles, ones he strives to protect and pass on to those around him. In the end, justice doesn't come solely from punishment, but from change in the actions of each individual. Forgiveness, reconciliation, and mutual respect form the foundation for a more equitable future, a future where people are judged not by their appearance, but by the content of their character and the impact they have on the world. Thank you for watching this powerful story on Fame Finder. If this tale of transformation touched your heart, please hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comment below. Your engagement helps us continue bringing you stories that challenge perceptions and inspire change. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our new uploads. Until next time, remember, true worth is never about appearances. It's about how we touch the lives of others.